With doing your course and doing that part of the healing, it has made me so much more conscious and aware of what other mothers might be going through. Like if they haven't gone through their healing, like how this could be really difficult for them to talk to their daughters and why they are looking for other people to do it because they've still got their stuff. Now I get to share it with the rest of the world. And it was all because I started this journey with my daughter, trying to connect all the dots together, but it was really me learning it all for me at the same time.
Welcome to the Wildflow podcast with me, Charlotte Puanto, certified cycle and feminine embodiment coach and shamanic womb guide. In this podcast, I'll share my wisdom and conversations with powerful change makers, thought leaders and embodied teachers to invite you to live cyclically in flow with your menstrual cycle instead of fearing it, to heal menstrual shame and normalize womb wisdom and period positivity, and to step into your sovereign magnetic power to create and embody the change you desire to see in your world. Settle in to unleash your wild flow. Hello, and welcome back to Wild Flow. It's really lovely to have you here with us. Today, I'm speaking to Giselle Pitt, who is one of our original First Moon Circle Facilitators. She is an incredible woman. She is a human who wears many hats, as she says. She's a mother of 4, 3 daughters and a son, an early childhood educator, an EFT tapping practitioner, a First Moon Circle facilitator, and an all-round holistic well-being mentor. Her mission on this planet is to support and empower others as they learn to navigate their world, and she is incredibly passionate about learning and sharing the wisdom of menstrual cycle awareness and empowering young people particularly to feel confident and prepared ahead of their first periods and their menarche. When she's talking about what she got out of participating in the First Moon Circle Facilitator training, which she was one of the first facilitators to come through that training, what she learned from doing her own inner healing work and why that's so important for her before she then steps into the role of teacher and space holder. Giselle's got such a fun, enthusiastic, energetic, totally real and raw and authentic personality. I just love talking to her. I really recommend having a listen if you're somebody who isn't really sure about how to talk to their own children or their own families about having a cycle and, you know, how to make them aware of what your needs are and how they can fit into family life with a cycle. I suggest listening in if you're not sure about why it's important to connect with your own story and do your own healing work as well, not just learning the facts to teach to your children or the children around you. And also if you're considering becoming a menstrual educator as a First Moon Circle facilitator, which our training begins next in March 2022 this year, and we're calling in people who are really interested in offering, you know, your own children and the community around you the experience, the knowledge, the preparation, and the honoring that you might have not had and wish that you had and feel really called to create a more period positive world. So Giselle shares really openly, and if you're interested in joining our training, then I'll pop the links to where you can find out more about this course in the show notes, as well as how you can connect with Giselle. Okay, happy listening. Welcome, Giselle, to the podcast. It's so lovely to have you here. How are you going today? How are you feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling pretty good.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'd love to start with a cycle check-in and just invite you to share with us which day in your cycle you are on and how it feels for you. And I'll go first. I'm on day 26 of what has been about a 28 to 30 day cycle. But actually I think I'm going to have quite a long cycle this time. I think I ovulated quite late, maybe only a week ago. So I think I've probably got maybe another good few days until I reach my bleed. And I'm feeling quite tired today because I've just had it's school holidays here, and it's all a bit chaotic, and we've had a new puppy in the last few weeks, and so it's been a lot happening behind the scenes. And even though I've been really taking a lot of rest and time for myself, which has felt really nice. But yeah, so it feels like a really nice time to talk to you today, because I feel like I'm a bit more grounded and a bit more settled, whereas I've been a bit kind of energized and not really feeling able to focus, not really wanting to sit at my desk, not really wanting to kind of, sit down and focus as such. So I feel a bit more ready and able to do that. Although I must admit, I haven't had any coffee today and my brain's not the sharpest. So that's where I'm coming from today. How about you?
Oh, we're pretty much in sync. I'm on day 24, 25, which means I'm in my autumn and I'm really feeling it this time round. Like you, I usually have about, a 28 to 31 day cycle. And today I sort of woke up just a little bit. I was calling myself a crabby pabby this morning. I woke up, a little bit more crankier and frustrated. And this is what happens just before I bleed. And I even said to my family, I'm just warning you guys, I'm in my autumn. I can feel it so much. And you could see like my husband and my daughter look at each other like, oh, here she goes. And I'm like, I'm just putting it out there. You know how I go. And it's only 24 hours, but today is the day. And voila, my house is cleared. Everyone's gone their own way. So in a way, I'm allowed to sit in my funk today, which is really, really what I need. So no one's going to be in the firing line.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love that everyone has listened and given you the space that you need, and that it's just kind of happened for you, but also that you're here. Thank you for being here and chatting with us, and your crabby pabby and funk is so welcome. All of it is so welcome. I love that we can be just really authentic and not feel like we need to be like our best shiny selves and our most presentable or like articulate or upbeat or anything, like we don't need to put a front on. We can just be exactly who we are and still have an awesome conversation and look after ourselves. And we don't need to be afraid of that inner autumn energy. It has its purpose.
It's so true, because I sat there this morning when I woke up, I'm like, crap, why didn't I plan this for when I'm ovulating and I'm at my best and I can articulate? And then I went, no, this is real. This is how it is. This is normalizing it, and so be it. And that was it. So I'm here in my everything, and I'm actually really excited to be doing it this way.
Yeah. And that's real life, right? We can't all just not do anything for the inconvenient parts of our cycle, the less accepted parts, and when we don't feel amazing, life goes on. It's like, what do we need to do around the things we have to do to look after ourselves, right?
It is. And it's so funny because I look back and I think I was looking at like, I'll do this podcast. This would be great. Of course I did it in my spring. Of course I said yes then. Of course I committed to 10 million other things. And here I am 2 weeks later. I'm like, oh, there it goes. But, that's life. It's just when you can sort of pinpoint, you're like, oh, and this is what I do just before my bleed. It's like I'm wrapping up all the loose ends and I'm seeing how my month has been, and it's shown before me. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I'm getting exhausted. I did say yes so much, and I'm here. But, to have no one in the house during school holidays, I am going to take today and run with it and focus on me.
Yeah, lovely. So what are you going to do after this?
Literally after this, I'm going to pull my cards. I haven't pulled any cards for this year, and I've got a vision board that I want to do. So I'm literally going to do that. There's so much cleaning to do, but it's all right. It's going to be there tomorrow anyway. So I'm going to make the most of no one in my house.
Yeah, that sounds like a really nice way.
I've got till 4 o'clock, so I've got a few hours. And, you know, as a mum of 4, I don't get that. So I'm just like, there's nowhere else I need to be. And I really just want to take time out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Giselle, there's so much I want to ask you. The first thing that just really came to mind was when you were talking then about, you know, you said to your family, I'm in my inner autumn, and they just looked at each other straight away. Like they knew exactly what that meant. One of the things that I love so much about you is how you have really taken, because you've not always known about menstrual cycle awareness and what your cycle looks like and feels like and what that means for you as a woman and a mother and as a family where you've got 3 daughters who, do all 3 of them have they all?
No, so I've got two older daughters, 16 and 14.
Yeah.
And they bleed. I've got a 9-year-old who's
9.
Definitely nearly there.
Yeah.
And I've got an older son as well. And, you know, his girlfriend spent so much time with us as well. So it's been one of those things in our household that we did have to, well, I decided to normalize it. And I didn't know anything about my menstrual cycle. Like, you know, give it at least 18 months ago, I didn't know much about it in the way of charting it. And looking back, I honestly feel like this has now become a sixth sense. I think beforehand, I just blamed it on being a Gemini and being all over the place. I literally did. You know, everyone's like, oh, she's just a Gemini. You know, one moment she's happy, one moment she's over the top, one moment she's like, you know, don't mess with her and that.
Crabby Pabby.
Yeah. And now I've actually noticed, like, I think I've been charting now for a good 12 months and it's pinpoint. Like I can notice just how my emotions, and it's usually in these couple of days now where everything just gets a little bit more frustrating. Everything bothers me a little bit more. I've got some really great tools that help me through it. But, you know, I just look back at how I was prior to learning about cycles and that, and how hard I was on myself on the self-talk stuff, because even, you know, today I was like, oh my God, I just don't even know if I can do this podcast. I'm not in the right space for it. So that real negative Nancy comes in, and I pick on that now. Like I give myself that break and I'm like, I've just got to tune in and either give myself the compassion or not. And then when I'm in my ovulation in my summer, I am so excited and so happy. And I really just didn't realize that my emotions were controlled by a lot of this stuff. So it's become my sixth sense. That's the only way I can explain it. It's like I'm in the ebb and flow of my cycling, and I can't believe I didn't know this. Like I've only just known it and I'm like, what, 41? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? And yet it's given you so much, like you say, your sixth sense. And then on top of that, the way you have shared it with your family. And, you know, you've told me before that you've, you know, taught them to cycle chart and you've taught them to be aware and to have these conversations in your family of what you all need and where you're all at. And I just think we've got so much to learn from you about that. I would love to hear from you how you've shared it with them and what they thought about it.
Well, I suppose, like, don't get me wrong, my teen girls aren't, you know, sitting down and chatting with me at all. My eldest one has an app which she swears by. And, you know, each to their own, but it's more just being that role model in my house. Like I am completely honest and, you know, I walk the talk. If I'm going to preach it, I'm going to do it as well. So it's been one of those things where I use me as an example. And, you know, like my husband's been so supportive in anything that I do. And so it's me saying, all right, I've got a few projects on. I've got to get this done. This is the week where I can do it, which is usually in my spring when I've got all the ideas coming through. So he knows to, you I'm in my little office space and I'm doing that stuff. The kids go, okay, you're working on that stuff, Mum. And I'm like, yep, just give me time. So it's funny. Have been honoring myself in the way of having boundaries. And to do that, I've got to have the open conversation. So the kids know that I'm not ignoring them. It's just, this is when I'm productive now. Yep, we can go rollerblading all next week and we can do the beach. We can do all of those things because you're going to have me in the best mood if I do that in the spring, in the summer. And I don't use the word springs and summer. I just explain myself and my movements a lot more. And I never, ever did that before. I really feel like I was just up and down, wishy-washy, and I didn't even know why. Now I know why. And it just seems to work. So you know how people do schedules for calendars and all that? It's like I do the same for my own body and where I'm at. So it's been a game changer for me. So that's how the kids are learning about it. They're seeing what I do. And, even Taylor, who's 9, she's got no bleed yet, but she's even like, I think it's coming because I'm, feeling just sad for no reason. And I'm yeah. And it's true because I can actually see her cycle, like her hormones are all there and they're doing that. Or, she's a little bit more snugglier or, I've got another one who's like so energetic and I can see how she's like what she's doing. And I'm like, all right, Shania, I know you're right in your, your summer cycle and I just need you to tone it down a little bit because Kiana over there is in her autumn, so she doesn't have the energy for you right now. And that's how it's been in our house. It's like not everyone's in sync, and when we are, Nathan is not home. So, and it's actually not even when we're bleeding that Nathan's not here. It's like when we are all together in those 3 days before our bleed, if we're in sync, then that's when we're all like in our separate rooms because it does get intense. Like one's crying, I'm trying to, hold the space for another one. So those are the real conversations that between me and my 2 older girls, we have out openly. So no one's offended by each other. Everyone knows that our hormones are like at the shittiest time that they can be. So we're not logically thinking. We are super reactive. And then we can just have that compassion. And it's taken a long time to get here. It really, really has, because prior to learning about my cycle, prior to teaching my girls about it, we were just, we were girls and we just snapped at each other. And, I didn't have the patience, and I can see that in them. And now we're just open about it, which just gives us permission to be who we are. And that's the best.
Oh my God, Giselle, I just feel so... that's amazing. I feel so inspired and touched and pleased and just celebrating all of that for you. And what you shared was just such incredible wisdom and knowledge for anyone listening who's got, maybe nobody else in the house who's cycling, but you're wondering about how to look after yourself. And if you've got children who do have cycles or don't have cycles, but especially if you've got girls who are having menstrual cycles, and you're saying that there are times when you are synced and times when you're not synced as well.
Yeah.
And then you're holding the space for them whilst looking after yourself in your own cycle and trying to balance out, I love what you said about, can you just tone down your summer energy because she's in her autumn and that's a bit much and she needs a bit more space. And then there's you in the middle kind of going, that's what you both need and what do I need? And then your husband's witnessing all of it and going like, how do I fit in here? And coming in and knowing when to duck out. That is just priceless. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because, I don't know many people at all, anyone else. I don't think I know anybody else, Giselle, except for you, who is cycle aware, has done so much work on, looking at your own relationship to your body and your cycle and your rites of passages and really embodying your cycle, in the day-to-day, like what it actually means, who's also got their husband on board and has got children with menstrual cycles as well, and who are also so aware, and you're having these conversations. And I just look to you because I've got 3 daughters and I'm like, right, in a few years this is going to be us,
Oh,
And I
it's,
feel inspired to try and get it, happening now. Like I'm talking to them now and trying to explain these things
yeah,
in their language, but preempting it so that when we get to that point, we can have such an awesome dynamic like you do.
yeah, yeah, thanks. It's like I said, you know, big credits to you in helping me find this, because it was a tool that I needed, that I didn't know that I needed. And now that it's here and that it's implemented, and it's, my kids are like, oh, Mum, don't talk about periods again. You can't be like the period lady. But, when I see them looking after themselves, when I see especially the middle one who is 14 and she's got the pimples and all that, she's just like, oh, Mum, I must be like ready to I'm nearly there because like, look at my face. And it's like, yeah, darling, that's just part of it. Or, I've got my 9-year-old who's doing the whole, oh, Mum, I'm a little bit chubby. And I'm like, remember what your body needs to do. And we talk about our body being like Play-Doh, and it's stretchy and it goes up and down. So it's just that, I wish I had these conversations with my mum. And I wish that it was conversation that was in our house. I wish that I never felt so embarrassed and all those things. So, in the end, I love that our house is very open with it, without it being all period talk, but being open about honoring our emotions, where we are in our cycle, and it's just normal now. I can't believe we're there.
Yeah, I just admire it so much, and all the way that you're so open, and the way that you encourage them to share their feelings and their experience, and you hold space for them, and the way that you haven't just kept it for yourself, you've shared it with your family. And I just admire you so much for that. So thank you for sharing it.
Thank you.
So, you said this is something that you've really learned in the last year or so. What was that journey like for you when you came? Because we've connected over the last few years as as youth mentors to start with.
Yeah.
And then you were one of our original First Moon Circle facilitators who came on the very first training round as well.
Yeah.
And so what was it that mattered to you about doing that course and that training?
So what happened for me, Charlotte, the story is, and I know you know a little bit about it, but it was more so that when my first daughter was 11, when she got her periods, and she was vomiting, she was like in bed, she had these physical symptoms that I'd never seen in my life. And she was talking about cramping and heavy legs, and she had a bleed. And I was so naive, because when I got my periods as a 12-year-old, it was nothing. Like, it was absolutely nothing. I just, hello, there they are. And I did it each month up until I had babies and all of that. So the way my daughter was explaining her body to me sounded as if, like, just after you have a baby and you feel all these contractions and all of that. And I just, in truth, I didn't believe her. I thought she was like faking it. I just didn't know where it was all coming from. And I noticed how angry she was, and she hated her body, and it was just as the periods were starting. So I actually started to, I said to her, look, I don't know what to do. Like, I never had periods like this in my life. I don't have the answers for you. I'm like, do you want to go see a doctor? Like, where do we go with this? I was just didn't know. And I said, I've got a friend who's like a homeopath. I'm not sure what they do, but, and literally that's how our journey started, because she decided to go with a female doctor and a homeopath. And I was so dumbfounded going to the doctor and the doctor saying, yeah, well, look, what she's having is, it's natural. If it continues, now this is when she was 11, in a year's time, if it's still heavy like this, we can look at contraceptives. And here I am going, what? Like, no way. Like, you're not giving my girl the pill. Like, she doesn't need the pill. And she's not even responsible enough to do those things. So thank God I came across the homeopath, and she just really started our journey about connecting with our bodies and, what happens to a girl. And from there, we got in touch with the naturopath. So all this alternative healing came through, and I was already into lots of energy work anyway. So once we started really learning about the physical symptoms that happens for a girl, I was trying to really work out like the mental, the emotional, and all that stuff. But I was looking for something. I was looking for something to continue to support Kiana, but I didn't know what it was that I was looking for. And funny enough, when we did our youth mentoring course, someone there told me about another, like a course for to celebrate girls and that. And I did go down that track, and I didn't realize how much work I needed to do on myself to be able to hold that space just for my girls. So I didn't go and do that course originally to be running courses or anything like that. I found that I needed to do so much on myself, and so I did. So that's been probably about a 4-year journey until I came across you. And I was at that point when I came and I found your course. Well, I didn't even come finding it. It just found me, as it does. I'd already had one girl. So my eldest had been bleeding for 3 years. We'd done so much work on it that she's still not on contraceptive. And she's really, looking after her body, like eating right and, tapping with me and doing lots of things like that. But when my second one came in, she celebrated her period. She was so excited because we talked so much in our house about it that the day she bled, she came out. She's like, woohoo, like, look, everyone, I've got my periods. And she rang Nan and she told everyone. And it was this really big celebration. And it was that point that I've went, oh my God, this should be celebrated. Like, it should be, like, I watched her have such a different experience in her cycle. Even to this day, she is still stoked with it. She's still fine with it. Like, she's not had any physical symptoms. She's not scared of it, where my first daughter was so anxious. And, anyway, when I've sat and spoken to them, their stories were so different. Shania was a lot more prepared. She was a lot more aware from the conversations at home, where Kiana said she was so scared. And, from the stories that she heard at school, and that was it. That was when I was like, okay, we need to start changing this, because little Miss Taylor, who was 8 years old at the time, said, oh yeah, I tell the girls at school, because they all talk about where babies come from. And I say that, after we have our periods, that's for our bodies to have babies. And I didn't realize Taylor got in trouble for saying that at school.
Oh, bless her. Did she?
She did. And, I said to her, what do you mean you got in trouble? And she's like, Mrs. Such and Such said, I'm too young to know about that, and I shouldn't be talking about that in the playground. I'm like, okay, all right. And I did actually go and confirm that happened, and it did. And then that was the moment when I saw my 3 girls and the roads that they were at, and I went, I need to actually do something about this, because I've been to the sterile school talks. I've been to one where my eldest put up her hand. She was the only one that put up her hand and asked the question, does it hurt? And everybody laughed at her. Mm-hmm. And I had to advocate for her there and go, that's a really good question, And then I'd been at the other one where the other daughter knew way too much. And, mothers approached me saying that they know enough. And I thought, I've just got to be ready for Taylor. I've got to be ready for this next one. I want her to celebrate it as well. And I didn't know how to get it out there. And then lo and behold, I came across your offering, and I remember thinking, this sounds all right, but is there really any more that you could teach me? Like, is there anything else? I've done so much work on this. I've got girls that are bleeding already. Like, am I really going to learn much from this course? And holy moly, I honestly, Oh my God. I'm just thinking like, and it tears me up because I'm just thinking of how hard I worked to get to that point of really supporting my girls that I still hadn't learned about myself. And that's what your course brought me to. Like your course not only showed me how to hold space for other girls and to empower them in that, but your course actually allowed me to own my own stuff and to be able to be, really connected to my cycle, to my wombs. I never celebrated, my menarche or anything like that. So I got to do all of that, and I feel more empowered and connected than what I ever have. And because of that course, like I said about my family, we're just like, there's going to be 4 really powerful girls that know their bodies. And because we do know our bodies, we're, I don't know, what's the word? Like, I just feel really honored that I'm at the age that I am and I still get to do that. I've come across a lot of people who have had hysterectomies, who have finished their cycles, and they've never had the gift of doing what I get to do, like just honoring their cycle. So, when I got to your course, I didn't know the impact. I can't even explain. Like, I didn't know how powerful this was going to be for me. And now I get to share it with the rest of the world. And it was all because I started this journey with my daughter, trying to connect all the dots together. But it was really me learning it all for me at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Giselle. It's a really powerful story. I think a lot of people come to this kind of work because their children are showing up with, like you say, difficult periods or pain or whatever it is, or feeling scared of having periods and going through puberty. And there's a sense that, we want to give our children the experience that we wish we'd had, that we, to be honored in the way we weren't. But really, I think it's so important, and I really firmly believe, what you just said, it's that we have to, as menstrual educators and space holders, we have to be able to do our own healing work and connect with our own story and our own rites of passage, and look at all the ways that we're holding and perpetuating menstrual shame, when, a lot of people don't actually think they've got any shame until we start really digging into it. And it's like, you see all the ways that you've taken it in, you've absorbed it and made it your own, and then you inadvertently spread it on through the things that you say and the way that you live, and the choices that we're making. It can be all with the best of intentions, but not realizing that we're role modeling again and just continuing that pattern that comes down our lineage and is passed on to us through our culture, that completely does not honor women's bodies, women in general, or being a cyclical person, being different. It's so important to unpack all the ways that we've taken it on and look at that and heal it and come into a right relationship with our bodies and our cycles and our experiences in the past, so that when we come to teach and hold space for people out in the community and our own families, where what you're saying, it's you're teaching and role modeling from a really embodied place. People can see, people can observe you, they can see that you're, like you said, walking your talk and practicing what you preach, but also you're giving them examples of what it looks like in the real world, and it's not just theoretical. Really, that energy that you're sharing, and that openness, and children are the best detectives. Like they can sniff you out. Like if you're telling them something but don't believe it, or you're not role modeling it, like they know, right?
100%. It is so true
to do that. So yeah, I really believe that's why when I was making this course, it's the first half of it is really a personal journey, like a big personal healing journey and learning journey, and connecting with your own cycles and your own menarche story. And your own red thread, as it were, going back as well in
Yes.
times through your ancestry, before we even start looking at, okay, so how, like, what is a first moon circle, and how do you hold a first moon circle, and how do you do that, in integrity and safely and inclusively and all the other things, and how do we promote that with the world? What you've shared today just demonstrates the benefits of doing that. And I'm really thankful for you really taking on board everything that you learned, and really creating massive change in your family, but also in your community. And you completed the facilitator training just over a year ago now, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. And I didn't do
what
my
a year.
first circle till May last year, and then we've had
Yeah,
COVID
right.
in between.
Yeah.
But
so what a year it's been for you.
It's been a year, and you know what? It's been an exciting year. And I mean, the course itself, when you're doing it, you're immersed in it, and you get all the energy that you're like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to change the world. And then when you actually go, oh my God, I actually have to do this. And, are people even going to want to, sign up to a course, like, sign up to a circle and all that? You go through, I think that's just normal in anyone, like, that self-doubt. But funny enough, it's following that, like you said, following that thread of people will come. I'm not even surprised now how many people need this in their life. And I just want to say, with doing your course and doing that part of the healing, it has made me so much more conscious and aware of what other mothers might be going through, like if they haven't gone through their healing, like how this could be really difficult for them to talk to their daughters, and why they are looking for other people to do it, because they've still got their stuff. Like, every circle, guaranteed, the mothers end up staying back going, can you run a circle like for us? Like, can you, do you do this for older women? And, I'm just about to hit menopause, and I'm only just finding this out. Can we make bracelets for ourselves? And, I feel really grateful that I've been able to heal and be able to share this. But I am so much more aware that there is such a gap. And hopefully, the course is what has made me do that, because I wasn't aware before. I wasn't aware, no one spoke about it really. And now it's just like, yeah, if you have dinner with me, I'm sure the word vulva will come up, and I'm sure I'll be talking about menstrual cycle, and everyone just knows like that, But yeah, it's just, the course really brought that awareness. And I can't even think what I would be doing if I hadn't have done that, or how my life would be without it. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's obviously, I was meant to be here. This is part of my reasons for being on this earth and why I found you. And, even if I don't run another circle for the rest of my life, I know that I have made a change in my girls' lives, and I know that they will pass that on to the next generation. I know that even my son is so supportive of his girlfriend. So my work is really done. Anything else is a bonus now. So, I couldn't have done that without the course.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that you're teaching your son as well. Just to really highlight that, it's so, I think a lot of people really want to do that, but don't know how to do it. And it's a simple case of, like you say, role modeling it and just normalizing it. And you're breaking down so many taboos. What you're saying there about other mothers as well, who don't know how to have these conversations, because they've not, like you say, done their own healing journey, or even just knowing about menstrual cycle awareness.
Yeah.
And we just have, like you say, those school talks that often just leave everyone feeling really ashamed, and it's not nurturing, it's not holistic, it's not, it doesn't talk about cycle self-care, what seasons of the cycles are, like the fact that there's actually different phases, and the fact that ovulation is important. It's all just about managing a bleed and, not getting pregnant, it feels like.
Yes.
And
yes.
and there's so much more to it than that. So Yeah, I really hear you when you were saying you've done this course and you feel so inspired, and then it's like, okay, now I've actually got to do it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's really natural. And, one of the things that I really love about our community about after when we finish the course is, we've got such a beautiful growing community of people who are, people who have been really active. And, like you say, you only held your first circle in May, but you've held, how many circles have you held in that period, and people have you supported? It's
Do you know
incredible.
what? Honestly, it's
Amazing.
gone nuts.
Yeah.
And like I'm on the mid north coast, and I have only advertised one public one,
Wow.
only one, and I have ran 7 circles. So I've impacted on 72 people altogether, and I actually don't have to go find anyone because there's a waiting list, and that's just because of the talk. It's just the talk, like it's look, I might be the only one in Coffs Harbour with a vulva puppet. It could just be that.
Everyone wants to see the vulva puppet.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you put a post out there publicly on Facebook into the community to share this, it does take a lot of courage. I've found there's been a lot of other amazing women in my community who are doulas, who who run other circles, who do different practices, and they've recommended other people to me. Like, everyone's got their spot in their community, and, it's just what's needed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I really hear you, and I really agree. And, we can all just be so supportive in that, and acknowledge that it does take guts to put yourself out there, and it does take guts to do your first one. But, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. And I think the sort of, the anticipation of doing it, like anything, is more significant than, actually going ahead and doing it. And I just love so much everyone's reflections after holding your first circle. It's like, wow, that feeling. It's like that, oh my gosh.
The fire is definitely lit.
Yeah.
When you do that first one and that fire is lit, you're like, wow, I can do this now. And you just start brainstorming. And I think I actually get that in everyone now. Like, I remember looking back at you going, how do you do it? How do you even make it fun and all that? And then here I go with all my creativity, creating, aprons and
I love
it. Different tools. And the more fun you make it and the more fun you have, the kids love it. And then their feedback is what gives you the high for the next one. And that's what's been infectious. It's just been this infectious high that everyone has been so supportive of me in the community, and they talk really great about this. So even, like I said, people just talking about it normalizes it.
Absolutely.
That's all I want, is it to be normalized. And funny enough, I've had schools now approaching me going, oh, can you just come and run one at school? And, originally I thought that that's what I wanted to do. I was like, yep, I'm going to go into schools and I'm going to do this. I have also learned through this course that the nice, juicy work comes in those sacred moments when you've got 4 to 6 girls sitting in a group and you're all talking so openly and giggling, and they're asking you their deepest, scariest stuff about it. And if you can calm them down, you've done something. And the parents are like, oh my God, my daughter came home and she sat with her dad and she showed her everything that you taught her. And I am so grateful. And that I couldn't do that in a school. I know from an educator's point of view, I wouldn't be able to impact girls like I could, or even not even just girls, like I wouldn't be able to impact the community like I am in holding those smaller circles. So it's funny what my goal was and how much it's changed to me being really satisfied with small circles, intimate circles, and knowing that these girls get what they need, but those mothers, they get the healing. And so it all just, it's this combination of what's it called, like the ripple effect. It's just this ripple effect that goes on. And like I said, I'll be quite happy don't get me wrong, I'd love to do more circles, but I know I've done what I've done. I've come and done it. So,
and you said 72 people. I just really wanted to reflect back to you that, they're the people who've attended. That's not counting the ripple, them going
Exactly.
home and telling their other parent, other siblings,
Yeah.
then their friends who tell their mothers, who talk, and the mums talk at the
Yes.
school gate and all that kind of
I
stuff. It's like
I
it's actually
know.
it's really profound, and and also the timeline effect of, like you say, the future generations of your children and their children, but also the
Yes.
work that you're doing for your ancestors, the way it's been.
Oh,
It was
absolutely. I had this one
huge
moment,
change.
Charlotte, where this grandma came up to me in the shops, and Coffs is like Summer Bay. Everyone knows everyone. And she came to me and she just grabbed my hand and she's like, I heard that you ran a period workshop for my granddaughter, and all I can say is I love it. I was given a blue book by my mum, and she said, read this. And I had so many questions, but my mum didn't know how to answer it. And then I didn't know how to tell my daughter, and I'm just so happy. And I remember it was the best moment I had, because I was in such self-doubt of like, am I really going to do this? Like, and that was my very first moon circle. So it was 2 days after my first moon circle that this grandma approached me and told me she saw the impact on her granddaughter, and she was like nearly crying. And I'm just like, oh my God, that was 3 generations I saw in a matter of 7 days that I know I've made happy in that way. So that was
Wow.
potent for me there.
Yeah, that's all the inspiration and fire you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible. I just celebrate you so much for taking this and really running with it, but not just doing it for yourself. It's, it's real activism. It's real change. You're really making change, and collectively, all of our facilitators are playing their part and, spreading out. And it really inspires me. In the next round, which we've got starting in March, we've got our first people joining us from Asia, from the Asian continent, which we haven't had anyone before. So we've got somebody in Sri Lanka, and there's somebody in Malaysia as well, and potentially India too, which just feels, when you start thinking about cultural change,
yes,
on that level, we're talking very much about, our culture in Australia, and then you start thinking about beyond, and how people can take what we learn, and the sisterhood and support of our community as well, and take it to their cultures and traditions, and looking at all the issues in different parts of the world. It just kind of blows my mind that this is possible, and this is a thing. It's so moving. I'm
it
so
really
excited.
truly is. Like you were saying, the cultures, that's something big that has come up in my circles, because just the diversity that I've had. And, like I said, mothers stay back, and then they start telling me their first time or their stories. And which is really, it's what's the word? Like, it's really special that they do that. But it's been my biggest eye opener too on just thank goodness I've done the work on myself to be able to not be like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you went through that. Like, you don't want to trigger somebody else at all, but it just makes me reflect on, what some people have gone through in their rite of passage, and how come they've probably not spoken about it because it hasn't been a positive experience. And, I start thinking like, this is still happening in the world. This is still, so it's bigger than me. It's bigger than many of us. And the more that there's out there, the more that there's this talk of it, the more that we're all becoming aware, and, we're supporting each other, and that it can make such big movements and change the world, that our children's children aren't living with what's going on at the moment for others. So it's huge. But I never, ever did I even think I'd be here. It was not in my plan of being an early childhood teacher ever. Like, I just can't believe the impact that this has.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing today, Giselle. I've loved hearing your story and where it started from you and the experiences that you have been through with your children, seeing how that started and then where you're at with them now. And also your personal journey of, connecting with your cycle, but also as an educator and a facilitator, and, the work you do with young people, how, hearing how you came to it, what really sort of drew you in, like it mattered on a deep level to you. And then, the journey that you've been through of learning and then also putting yourself out there and now having a waiting list and just word spreading and people coming to you in, a short space of time. And just from talking about it, like we're hungry, aren't we? Collectively, we're really hungry for knowledge and acknowledgement and to learn and to be heard as well and have that space. And, I think it's really amazing that mums are finishing and, these circles, because it takes courage for mums to, book their children on and then they're finishing up and, feeling able to kind of have that chance to debrief with you. And so much to be done there as well.
I know. I reckon we could talk all day. We really could. Honestly couldn't we?
Yeah.
There is, there's so many different levels, but like I said, without the course, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Like I thought I knew what I was doing prior and there's no way I'd be holding circles. There's no way I would have done the healing I did. There's no way I'd have the awareness that I do now. And that's what I think I do get out of the community, like our First Moon Circle community, is that everyone is so open on there and there's some great questions, and that makes me, I'm always learning. I am nowhere, like I've said to people, I'm not the period queen at all. I am still learning, and I think I'll be forever learning now. And it's exciting, but I couldn't have done it without this group.
Oh, thank you. And it's amazing for me as well, because I didn't think that this is what I would be doing. Who knew? And yet, when you find something that really means something to you, it takes hold and it just becomes what it is. And it's bigger than me. It's bigger than, it's got a spirit and a soul of its own and a purpose of its own. And we're like the guardians of this mission, it feels like. And it kind of blows me away. And I'm always learning from you and everybody in the group. And I just love that we can take this to where it needs to go. And, in that really beautiful collaborative way where we're all input and share ideas and support each other so much. And I think that's, all of this, like embodying this for ourselves, like this is the change we want to see. It's not just embodying, practicing and honoring our menstrual cycles and honoring our bodies. It's working together as women and supporting each other and, creating change on a large scale. And so really, role modeling that as well for ourselves, I think it's really healing and powerful. So it's such an honor. It's such an honor to hear from you and to have you as part of our community and to witness you doing just such incredible work. And what's next for you? What's this year bringing for you?
What's this year bringing? This year is bringing courage. That's my word for the year, is like stepping out of my comfort zone. So, hey, doing this podcast is the first one. It's actually, it really is. It's really putting my work, like this work that I'm doing with First Moon Circles and a lot of youth mentoring, and really focusing on that. And I suppose, but not, not being too busy. So I'm trying to do it in a more authentic way. And I know it's going to sound so cliche, but I'm trying to do it where I'm going with the ebbs and flows. So I've really given myself the time this year. Well, that's my plan, is giving myself the courage and the grace to do it my way, not society's way. So let's just see how that goes. Check in with me at the end of the year.
Yeah, amazing. That's really similar to my intention too.
I'm looking at doing another a rites of passage course that they have up in Byron. That's something that
Brilliant.
has, I don't know, but maybe I might not do. I don't know. I just love this course. So I'm just, like I said, the more that I do this, the more I think, what else is out there that people have to honor? Yeah. Like, there's so much that we have to celebrate within ourselves. How do I help, teens celebrate and, little ones and families come together? So who knows? Who knows?
Amazing. It's like really opened another world.
It really has. Yeah. It really has.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Giselle. Well, normally I ask my guests at the close what the same question, which is, what does connecting with your body and your cycle, what has that taught you? But I feel like we've really explored that really, really richly today. I love that. So instead, I'd just love to ask you if there's anything that comes to mind, anything that you would like to share. Perhaps if somebody was listening who was considering doing this work or this inner healing work for themselves as well, connection to their cycle and rites of passage, but like you say, was questioning, like, maybe they're hesitant, or maybe they feel like there's not much left to learn, like what you said you felt earlier on. Is there any words of wisdom that you might have for someone?
Words of wisdom, good one. Look, like I said, I think you're always going to learn. And, you can read a book 3 times over or watch a movie over and over, and you'll see bits that you didn't see before. So I don't know what I was thinking I wasn't going to learn anything. I just think, if this is calling you, if you've been thinking about doing this and it keeps popping up and you're like, do I do it? Don't I do it? Do I do it? Don't I do it? I'd just say do it, because it's calling you for a reason. And, you can always learn more, even if it's just one thing. You'll be part of a really great community. And I'm not too sure if that's really words of wisdom, but it's more, I think you can always learn. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Giselle. Thank you so much.
It's okay. Thanks for having me.
So where can people find you? So you do your in-person First Moon Circles up in Coffs Harbour, New South Wales
yes.
coast. Is that mid-north coast? Or
it is mid-north coast.
Mid-north coast, yeah. And are you doing your online work?
I do. I'm also a holistic wellbeing mentor, which means I use different modalities to help people navigate through their world. I work a lot with mothers and children in giving them some tools and strategies on how to navigate those tricky teen years. And I do that online, or I do it face-to-face, and I love it. Love it all. Or you'll find me with my kids being a taxi up and down the Pacific Highway. So.
And what's your, are you on Instagram? What's your...
Oh, yeah. Look at me promoting myself.
Go for it.
I'm at Little G Mentoring on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll put that in the show notes. And I fully recommend that you go and follow Giselle, because she's not only hilarious and really open and doing amazing things in the world, she's really inspiring as well. So go and have a follow along of what she's doing. Thank you so much, Giselle, for a chat today. I just love talking to you. Your energy just lifts me up and inspires me. It's infectious. And wish you a beautiful bleed when it comes.
Thank you. And I can't wait to see all the new facilitators in the new group, because it's always nice to have new, fresh people in and see how this year unfolds with everything. So exciting stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel called to find out more or to enroll in our First Moon Circle Facilitator training, then I'll pop the links in our show notes. But the link for you to go and find out more is firstmooncircleschool.com/training. If you're feeling that you would love to create real change, to offer something that you were not, that you did not receive yourself as a child, if you want to learn how to hold a safe and inclusive space for others with diverse backgrounds, with diverse experiences, if you want to honor periods and menstrual cycles and puberty, but not teach it in a sterile kind of or limited way, if you want to be more holistic than that, if you want to hold sacred circles for children, and also to offer healing to mothers and bring them into the experience so that children and mothers are able to leave the circle and have open communication, that they can go home and talk openly, and it's not something that they've just learnt in the classroom and then don't feel they can talk about again, then this training might be for you. We are enrolling. We are beginning in March. It's a 3.5 month experience, and the support does not end after there. We'll be guiding you, honoring you, supporting you, collaborating with you to help you to bring your circles to life, to get over the hump and to actually hold your first one, and then to grow your offering, your business, and expand from there. We will run the training again perhaps later in the year, so you can always join the waitlist, which is also on our website, to find out more information if you're interested, but now's not the right time for you. Come and join the waitlist and we will keep you in the loop. Right, my loves, wishing you well, noting which day in your cycle you're on if you have one, or where in the moon cycle you are when you're listening to this, and asking yourself how you're feeling and what you need. Until next time, bye. Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.